What's up guys, welcome to my Honest Gear Reviews Tuner Pedal Edition video. In this video we're going to be going over and comparing two common tuner pedals out in the market right now. We got the Boss TU-3w Waza, and we got the Peterson Strobostomp HD, which is a relatively new tuner pedal on the market. Just for comparative purposes, we also got our old buddy, the standard Boss TU-3, just to compare these new kids on the block to the old standby. So without any further ado, you've read the marketing jargon on the websites of these manufacturers. You've seen the other videos that show you what they do. We're going to get into the important stuff and show you what I don't like about these things. Okay, Peterson Strobostomp HD is the new kid in school. I think it's only fair to pick on that one first. So I'm going to hit this this switch with my foot, and when I do that, I want you to listen carefully. You're going to hear a little relay clicking. Hear the relay? What that relay's job is to mute the output of the tuner pedal. So that relay clicks regardless of what mode you're in. If you're in buffer bypass or true bypass or monitoring mode, doesn't matter. That's muting the output of the pedal to mute the sound going to your amp. So if you notice, when I hit that, there's a little bit of lag waiting for that relay to click. So I got a guitar here, I got it plugged into an amp. I'm gonna strum a chord, and I'm going to click that that switch, and you listen for the lag for how long it takes the relay to mute the output of the tuner. I'm going to call it about half a second. To me it's significant, and I'll tell you why. I play in a band where we don't have a lot of stage banter. We do have a lot of capo switches and a lot of tuning switches, and I got a B-bender on a Telecaster that I use, and long story short, I got a lot of pressure to keep my guitars in tune. Consequently, I often tune in the middle of songs. If I've got a couple bars where I'm not playing, it's other instruments, and my guitar isn't in that part, I'm tuning during that part. So, if you call this about half a second, say I've got a passage that's, maybe a couple bars worth of music, it's about 10 seconds long. Add up a half a second plus a half a second. You got about a second. I spent about 10% of that time waiting for the switching lag on this thing to catch up with what I'm doing. Don't have that problem with the TU-3 or the TU-3 Waza. As you can see, these are instantaneous. Watch. Now you see how slow that is in comparison. It's not a deal breaker, but it does make tuning a little bit slower. So regardless of how fast you think this thing tracks notes compared to the Boss units or compared to anything else, you got to deal with the switching lag before the thing even actuates and starts tracking notes. So not the fastest thing ever. The other thing I've had to work around, and I made the mistake once or maybe twice, where I'm up on stage and everything's quiet. The song just stopped, and I'm ready to retune before the next one. And I start at the top, and I hit my high E right as I hit the tuner pedal, and here's what happens. With the Boss, here's what happens. It's already muted because I'm hitting it at the same time. With this, that pluck of the high E string comes through front of house at full volume. You make that mistake maybe once or twice. But yeah, I'm going to pick on that. It's a pretty darn good unit outside of the switching lag once you got it on your board and you're using it, but let me pick on a couple other things with this. Okay, so this is the bottom of my Strobostomp HD unit. You'll notice that I got some Velcro on the bottom of here. And so I'll mention, if you haven't seen one in the flesh, these units ship with a rubber pad on the bottom, similar to what's on the bottom of the Boss pedals. I've been pretty successful with putting Velcro on the bottom of the rubber pad that's on the Boss units. I couldn't get Velcro to stick to the bottom of this thing no matter what I did. I wound up having to rip the rubber pad off. I tried cleaning it with rubbing alcohol. I tried a couple different types of Velcro. I tried dual lock. I couldn't get anything to stick to the bottom of the rubber pad that this thing came with from the factory. So I ripped it off, and there's a couple issues with that. Number one, you can see maybe these screws stick up and protrude out, so you've either got to countersink screws into this thing, or you've got to get, it rubs a little bit on the board. It sticks, it's okay, but it's not optimal. The bigger issue is that This unit has a lot of options to it. You can hook it up to the computer, and there's a lot of deep diving, and you can save presets and the sweetened tunings and everything else that it does. In order to do that and register on the website, you need the serial number from the pedal. Guess where the serial number is? It's on the rubber pad that I had to rip off. So, I did save it. I put it on some wax paper and everything, but these things, I think what's going to happen over time is people are going to rip the pads off, put Velcro on the bottom of this, the serial number is going to get lost. You're going to, go to buy a used one off of, Reverb or eBay or something like that, and not realize you need the serial number to register the thing, get into the menu system and deep dive on the website because their editor is web-based, and you're going to be out of luck. Peterson, it's 2019. You got to realize that your customer base, the majority of us run pedal boards. We're not putting these things straight on the floor. We're putting them on pedal boards. Another issue with the way that they designed this thing. So here's the battery tray. And it's on the bottom. That's no problem. I use a power supply, as you can see. But see this little switch in here? The lighting might make it hard, but this is the switch that switches between true bypass, buffered, or monitoring mode. Okay. So, if you don't know the difference between true bypass and buffer and, what the pros and cons are of both those types of bypass systems, Google it. Maybe I'll do another video on it, but long and the short of it is there's some instances where you'd want true bypass and some where you'd probably want the buffered bypass. I happen to use both based on the cable lengths that I've got on larger stages. I've got like a 21-foot cable that I use, and sometimes the high end, it gets shaved off a little bit. I want the buffer on. Other times I'm on a smaller stage with like a 10 or 12-foot cable, and I don't need that buffered bypass option in there. I want true bypass. With this thing, so you got this thing stuck onto your board, which, I had to go through ripping that rubber pad off to get it on there in the first place. But if I want to switch from true bypass to buffered, I have to rip this pedal off of my board, open up the battery compartment, switch the switch, close the battery compartment, put it back down onto the board. In comparison, the Waza tuner over here, the switch is right there. Nice and easy. So kudos to Boss on that one. Peterson, you're a little out of touch with, in my opinion, with what people need to do in order to get the functionality out of this thing when they're using it in a live setting. It's on a pedal board. So, yeah, pretty good unit once you got it on your board and you're utilizing it. Like I said, the switching lag, not a deal breaker, but definitely an annoyance. And just the overall design of this thing, they could have been a little smarter with it, in my opinion. Some people are complaining about the side-mounted jacks. I'm not going to complain about that. It would be a little bit more of a space saver if they were able to put top-mounted jacks, but as you can see, they've got the 9-volt in and out and the USB port up here to hook it into the computer. So it's been fine with me. It's about the size of a Boss pedal. It's actually a little bit taller, about a 1/4 inch in this length, or this dimension, but it's not quite as tall as the Boss. So if you're okay with the size of a Boss, you're going to be okay with the size of this thing, and they both have side-mounted jacks. So, okay, let's move on to the Boss TU-3 Waza. Boss TU-3 Waza. All right, it's time to hate on the Boss. Before we go into that, I'll tell you why I bought this thing. Like I said, I own this standard TU-3 for quite a few years at this point. It's had many a beer spilled on it. It's been kicked around and beat up for at least 10 years, probably 12. It's still going strong. I just wanted the option for true bypass switching, and they make you pay an extra $50 for this Waza unit if you want that from Boss. So you know what? I said, okay, fine. I'm going to buy into it. I'll play your game. Give me the Waza. I went out and I bought it, and it delivers with the true bypass switching. It makes a difference in sound if that's something that you're after. And actually, truth be told, the buffer sounds a little more natural in the TU-3 Waza, so that's good. But let's look at the LEDs. I'm going to bring your attention over to the standard TU-3. We'll call them amber. I'm colorblind as bleep, but they look amber to me. If they're not, I apologize. But they're functional. They've always worked for me. I've never had an issue with them. I see them in sunlight. I see them on dark stages. They just work. Now look at the TU-3 Waza. You'll notice that the LEDs are blue. The off-center ones are blue. The center LED is... See how bright that is? It's a bright yellow. And in my opinion, this intensity difference between that blue and that bright yellow is no bueno. This damn thing burns my freaking retinas out when I'm on a dark stage and I'm staring down at this trying to tune my guitar, and I'll tell you why. When you're pretty close but not quite there, the center LED is illuminated, but also you see that the blue one adjacent to it is, I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but hopefully it is. The blue one adjacent to it's also illuminating. And to be dead on in tune, what you want to do is stop that adjacent blue LED from illuminating and have only the center one lighting up. The intensity discrepancy between these, it's gotten on my nerves over time, and to the point where I've been up on stage and I'm kind of seeing spots after I've been tuning a little bit. I mean, not the best thing. Boss, in my opinion, really, they try to get too fancy with this thing to justify the extra price tag on it, because they put this, cool little Waza craft thing on there and a true bypass and buffered switch in it. And they put a different paint scheme on it, different colors, and they had to get flashy and fancy with the LEDs. They would have had a killer tuner pedal if they just left these amber LEDs and left the same screen and just went with what worked and didn't try to get all flashy with it. It makes the pedal less functional and harder to use when you're up on stage. And truth be told, actually, the blue ones under direct sunlight are harder to see than the amber ones on this standard TU-3. So, yeah, I'm looking at you, boss. Really, you got too fancy with it. The functionality would have been increased if they just kept it the way that it was before. That being said, I'm happy to have the buffered bypass and true bypass modes on there. I'm happy to have that true bypass option. And I'm happy to have a little bit of an upgraded buffer that sounds a little more natural. So, yeah, that's what I don't like about these things. Let's go over what I do like about them. Back over to the Peterson Strobostomp HD. Okay, you heard me hate on this thing for a while, and now let's talk about what I actually like about it. Now, once you've got this thing in tuning mode, we've gotten past the switching lag and everything, and you actually attempt to tune with the thing, I will say that this is the most accurate, easiest to use, most readable, most visible tuner pedal I've ever owned, period. It really is a good tuner pedal as far as tuning your guitar goes, and the main functionality of the pedal, what it does very, very, very well. I gotta be honest about it, it does. So let's talk about this the display first. Big, bright display, high contrast, super easy to read. Comparing it to LEDs. So the deal with LEDs is they need to overcome the ambient lighting around them in order to be visible for you. So this thing has two different modes. It's got a high intensity and a lower intensity. In sunlight, I got to turn it up on high, so it's got to overcome the sun. And on dark stage, I turn it down on the lower intensity, so it's not burning my damned eyes out. This thing, in comparison, it's just got to deal with the contrast between the black part of the screen and the part that's actually illuminated. And really, the biggest compliment that I can give this thing in terms of readability is just to tell you that no matter where you take this thing, sunlight, dark stage, anything, you're never going to have a single issue with being able to see it. It's just plain visible. The only caveat to this big screen is that it can get scratched. So I've still got the factory film on here that it's shipped with. When this falls off, I'll probably get like a cut-to-fit cell phone screen protector and put it on there. Just something to be mindful of. If this thing's on a pedal board or it's kicking around in a bag, or whatever you do with your tuner pedal, you're going to want to be protecting the screen so it doesn't get all scratched up. But yeah, other than that, the display's fantastic. Actually tuning with it. So here is what a strobe tuner pedal looks like if you're not familiar with it. And essentially you got this spinning wheel. And if the note is flat, it spins this way. And if it's sharp, it spins that way. And the idea is to get this wheel to pretty much stop spinning like that. Like that, I would say, is pretty much dead on in tune. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it. I'm going to call it like a week or so of using this thing every couple days, like, maybe 4 or 5 uses. All of a sudden you're like, oh, it makes sense to me. Now I actually prefer it to the needle type functionality of the Boss units. I think it's whatever you're more used to utilizing, you're just going to be more comfortable with it. You trust me, you will get used to the strobe function, the strobe tuning, and you'll probably even like it. And it is more accurate too. So I don't want to get too much into like harping on accuracy for a couple reasons, but it is more accurate than the Boss in the sense that when you look at the specs, it's more accurate. But you can, if you got a reasonably good ear, you can actually hear that too. I've tuned the guitar with the Boss pedal and then moved over to the Peterson, and it did sound a little better. You can call BS on it. I called BS on the people that told me that before I bought one. You can hear I'll put this little asterisk in the air. In perfect conditions, you can hear the difference. And this is what I mean by I don't want to get crazy with accuracy, because here's the thing about the extra accuracy for the Peterson. So say you go through the extra time that it takes to tune this pedal with the extra accuracy that it's got, and all your open strings are dead on in tune, and they're dead on to the notes that they're supposed to be. Well, unless the frets on your guitar are absolutely perfect, you're going to go and you're going to fret the first chord, and if you got a little divot or a gouge from years of playing on that guitar on the second fret or the third fret, well, that chord's going to be out of tune, so any of that additional accuracy is completely wasted anyways. It can also be totally wasted by your technique. If you're like me and you got a heavy left hand, heavy fretting hand, and you press too hard on the frets and pull notes sharp, that accuracy is completely negated. If you tend to maybe like kind of pull notes to the side, like one side or the other, like pull the string over a little bit, and you're not fretting chords perfectly every time, that accuracy is completely negated. So yeah, it's nice to have the extra accuracy. I wouldn't make it a deal breaker over any tuner pedal that you're buying. I wouldn't be looking at accuracy specs, making that decision something that's going to catalyze what tuner you're actually going to go for. It's 2019. Any tuner pedal that you buy on the market is going to be extremely accurate, more accurate than you need in order to sound in tune. We'll put it that way. Peterson actually has a lot of functionality that isn't visible in the pedal. You can do deep diving in their web-based editor. It has sweetened tunings. It has presets. You can go through. This thing's insane. Let me show you. You can change the color to pretty much any color that you want. These are just the ones that I have loaded onto it. But sweetened tunings. Should I explain that to you? I'll explain it a little bit. So guitar, like any fretted instrument, is kind of a compromise. If you play guitar, you know that you might tune the thing up and you hit an E chord and it sounds great. Hit a G chord, it sounds great. Hit an A chord, here it comes. Maybe not as great. There's a compromise. My frets are in great condition, the guitar's in tune, the A chord just doesn't sound all that good. And you're going to find that. It's usually A's and D's. Depends on the guitar. Sweetened tunings, what they do, rather than tuning each string dead on to the note that it's supposed to be, it tunes some of them a little flat, some of them a little sharp, and what it's designed to do is get the guitar to play in tune the best that it can all over the fretboard. So rather than having one of those chords sound kind of off, all the chords sound pretty much in. So that's the idea behind it. So there's sweetened tunings that it has for, I'll roll through the menu over here. Guitar, here's equal temperament, so every note is the note. Sweetened tuning for guitar, acoustic guitar, dadgad tuning, I don't know what that one is. Classical guitar, flamenco guitar, there's different instruments in here, mandolin, whatever else. Do they work? Yeah, they do. But every guitar is different. You can actually make your own sweetened tunings based on your own guitar if you wanted to. Do you need to go through the trouble of loading sweetened tuning presets and that kind of thing to sound in tune? No. But it may sound a little better to your ear. It may be something that you want to utilize. You can load presets. You can load a sweetened tuning for one guitar and save it as a preset and make it green on the display when it comes up. You can save one for maybe open tuning, a slide guitar that you use, and when you tune for that slide guitar, you make it so that preset is orange. I have another one for dadgad tuning or drop D or something like that, and that preset is yellow. And I don't have this functionality enabled, so I can't show it to you, but I'll tell you that it does exist. You can enable it in the menu, and then you can roll through presets by tapping on the guitar or raking across the strings. So it knows the difference between plucking a note, right, and doing this, like hitting the guitar or tapping on the pickup like that. So if I did this, it would go, oh, preset 1, preset 2, preset 3. Okay, I'm ready to tune. And that's what it would do. So that's how you would roll through presets without having to crouch down on stage and hit buttons or anything like that. So what I would do if you're looking into the Peterson, if you want to know all the functions that it has, I would go on their website, I would download the manual, and I would have a good read. Just sit down, grab a glass of wine or a beer or something, and have at it, because it's going to be a long read. This thing has a lot of different functions. It's a beast. It's an absolute beast. I mean, you can go on their website and read about it. You'll watch other YouTube videos on this thing and you'll realize that nobody's going through all the functions that it has, because there's just not enough time. And probably most people don't want to do the homework. I looked through everything that it had. I said, you know what, I'm going to use like maybe 2 or 3 of these functions, and the rest of it I'm not even going to bother. That's probably how most people approach these things. To use it as a standalone tuner on stage, that's kind of how I'm reviewing it. If you want to deep dive and kind of go in and see all the functionality that it has, I'd go read the menu. Read the manual on Peterson's website. So, yeah, great tuner in many, many aspects. It's got a couple downfalls, but you know, overall, I'm pretty happy to have the thing. So, yeah, moving on to the Boss. Okay, Boss TU-3 Waza. We hated on this one. Now we're going to talk about what we like about it. And I did hate on it for the LEDs. And that's really the only complaint that I really have with this thing. Outside of that, it just plain works, and that's really the biggest compliment I can give it. Boss has been utilizing this form factor, this type of pedal casing since the 70s, and it just plain works. The switching is silent. It's pop free. It's instantaneous. Way faster than the Peterson. I can change the battery without having to pull it off my board. I can change the bypass mode without having to pull it off the board. You can get all the functionality out of it without having to hook it into a computer or pull it off the board. It just plain works. It's a great pedal. These things are workhorses. For me, it would be the perfect tuner pedal if it just had that color on the LEDs, if they didn't move to this stupid blue thing. But yeah, workhorse tuner pedal. If you can get by the LED color, or if it doesn't bother you, it's a fantastic pedal. So yeah, tuner pedals. Thanks for watching. I hope if you're in the market for one of these, or if you own one, or you're maybe looking to move along to the other one or upgrade to something, that this is helpful for you. As usual with any of my videos, feel free to leave a comment below. Feel free to send me a message if you have any questions, or if there's any particular video that you want to see. I'm all ears. So yeah, thanks again for watching. See you on the next one.